What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the #1 rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework, you know what I mean?
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
We did not tap.
Let's go! Let's go!
UFC 281 is upon us. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira. Does this man actually do what he did once before? Does he knock out Israel Adesanya? I guess only time will tell. Or does Adesanya do what he does? Or do we see some crazy wrinkle of wrestling? Should be an interesting fight. It's likely going to be a kickboxing match, but we will get into that. First, I want to do just a quick recap because it is earlier in the week. I think it's only fair, and because it was a short list of spots, that we just recap some of the spots. So I think first one of the spots that we'll look at was
Mario Batista and Benito Lopez.
And you had that under what, 2.5, right?
Under 2.5 plus 1.
Okay. And that was just cash money, the submission first round. That was just nice and easy. If you went for Mario first round, a lot of people want more KO side of things, but if you just picked him winning the first inside the first round, I think the prop to be out there. But we were on the under 2.5. What was the next bet that you were looking at?
The next bet we had the Dinkwig or whatever his name is. It was just a bad read, but
okay. Let me do this. I gotta do this, right? I have to do this because I put my foot in my mouth real hard because Tagir Lembekov did what I said he has never done before. And I always preface this with I'm not a fighter, right? So what I will say is, sir, if you ever would have heard any of this, which you haven't, I will carry your water wherever you want me to carry it. I will be your water boy. Because once you got that neck, holy shit, you were not letting go of that neck. You made that uncomfortable. God damn. Prove me wrong. I went one way fading him so hard because I did actually think Maness was going to pose a problem by touching him up, being able to stay on the feet. I don't think it was a case of his weight cut. People might say that, and I don't think any of that was an issue at all. I think you could just really see Tagir made a point. What do you feel about that one?
yeah, like I just feel like it was kind of not necessarily a bad read on our part. Like Tagir kind of, as they were in the scramble and getting up, Tagir just kind of wrapped up that neck. Maness didn't really see it coming. In retrospect, I think the average person would think that Tagir probably would have just shot back down to the leg. So I'm not surprised you didn't see it coming. It's like I've been saying to a couple of other buddies about this whole betting thing, though. Maness is just the type of guy where like I will auto bet because he's cashed me tickets so many times in the past, especially at dog money. Like there's certain guys, and we'll talk about some of them tonight, but like to me, like my ROE on fighters is super important. And if I have to lose one but win 4, I'm always still game for it.
Fair enough. And then the next one we looked at was Mark O. Madsen. That did not quite come through the way we thought it would. We thought maybe it was more of a decision situation with the slight dog money. Take it away on that one.
Yeah, well, once again, man, it's just a bad read. Like I thought we hadn't really seen Grant Dawson too much off his back and what he would look like when he got there. He got dropped in the first, but then just didn't really seem like Madsen had an answer for the grappling. So, and unfortunately, all good wrestlers don't generally look good off their back, and it's kind of what we ended up seeing in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, and then from that one, we went to Neil Magny, and Neil Magny was a play that you were on earlier in the week, and you had said, and I was flip-flopping back and forth, unsure. Went back and watched tape after sort of you being on the Magny side and a couple other sharp guys on Magny, and just seeing Mike Perry do to Rodriguez what he did. I figured Magny would do that. The only thing that bugs me about Magny is in a 3-round fight, if it stays on the feet, his fall back into the cage reaction to reset, that's what he does like quite regularly when he gets hit. Even when he doesn't get hit, it just makes it look like he gets hit every time. And I imagine that judges probably score that nonstop. I didn't even look at the scorecards. I probably should check that out because he was just falling back into the cage. And who knows, some sharp judges might be on that and see it, but he has this weird tendency. But yeah, so we were on the submission and decision, Neil Magny, and yeah, man, just one hell of a spot, and Rodriguez just sort of faded. He poured it on at the end, and Magny just got him out of the ground and finished that one off. So definitely a good spot to be on. And then the last one was Marina Rodriguez take it away on that one. That one was just heartbreaker.
Yeah, like that was just.
Can't say we maybe didn't see it coming, possibly, but it was a heartbreak.
Well, I did say in the beginning that like if Lemos was going to win, she would win early. Fortunate reality is I'm on the side, and maybe it's just because I had a bet on it that I necessarily didn't agree with the stoppage. That being said, you know, a lot of people say she's out on her feet. I haven't personally rewatched it back, so I'd have to rewatch it to really make probably more of an educated opinion on it. But at the end of the day, Lemos was looking good. Like, I can't sit here and take away from the fact that, you know, she wasn't winning that fight. Like, it was 1-1 going into the third, and she arguably was a hell of a lot more dominant. And you probably could have given that second round a 10-8, depending on the judge. Like, she kind of held her back for the whole time. And regardless of the situation, like, she was in a dangerous position, and she was pretty close to getting that choke a couple times. So, Lemos looked good. We'll see where she goes from here. So, and Marina, I'm sure she'll bounce back.
Yeah, for sure. But Lemos, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. What'll be her next role? I think she's actually playing. She's going to be the alternate potentially.
I did
this
hear
weekend.
that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I guess staying in Vegas just says screw it. Well, staying in the States, I guess, and then heading out to New York as a potential backup.
So first fight of the night, we got Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira, who arguably probably had the easiest path to the title, in my opinion, just based on the fact that if you want to talk about cherry picking fights, like they cherry picked the shit out of this guy to get into where he's at. I'm not taking anything away from him. For those, and assuming everybody knows, Alex Pereira is a kickboxer turned MMA. He's been a pro for about 6 years now, but really only had one fight for the first 4 or 5 of them. And then came into the UFC and really only had 3 fights to get him to where he's at. He had a fight with Bruno Silva, which he did look good in. His grappling defense looked good. Then he fought, not Bruno, sorry. Then he fought Sean Strickland in a fight where we saw probably the worst piss poor fight IQ I've ever heard of by a guy that went in there with his hands down to fight an elite kickboxer. The point of me saying all this is that's not how Israel Adesanya is going to fight him. They fought twice in the past. If you look at the decision win that Pereira got originally, you could arguably say that Israel Adesanya won that fight as well. It was very, very close. And the second time around where Pereira scored the knockout, props to him for scoring it, but he wasn't in any way winning that fight. So I know a lot of people going around seeing the clip of him getting hit and just assuming that it was kind of one-way traffic. And I don't quite think that's the way it is. I also think that's a much younger and less defensively sound Israel Adesanya. Izzy gets a lot of shit because he doesn't fight the way you want him to, right? You want this guy who's very flashy to come out and make a scene every single time he fights. But he fights like somebody you want to put money on because he's very, very risk adverse. And I really think the only way that Pereira wins this is by getting a KO. And I don't see Israel Adesanya putting himself in that position. On a striking level, they're both very, very, very similar. But I think that with Israel Adesanya having so much more MMA experience, he'll be able to mix it up more in regard to what the judges will like to see and just arguably probably ride this out to a decision. But I really got to side with Izzy on this one. Just even as I said, watching back those 2 kickboxing fights alone makes me side with him.
This man runs his game plan better than no one else. He is able to set up he'll set his feints, set up traps, be able to move and maneuver, and it looks boring to other people, but he's scoring points. And he's able to do it to almost everybody at the highest level, right? Kickboxing, MMA, he's been able to do this since the dawn of his career. And you're right about the momentum when it comes down to, his education, his level, his technique. If there's ever a bull and matador situation, this fight is it. You're having a guy that's going to charge forward with a lot more volume, throws about 6 strikes per minute in the challenger. And when Pereira comes forward, he's throwing it with hell. And when he throws that hook is set up so well, and it is a scary son of a bitch. Like it's if it touches you, you're going to sleep. He's going to be marching forward, but he's not only marching forward with power, he's marching forward with technique and power. And then it's going to be one hell of a kickboxing match. I can't really see this going to the ground. Izzy's looking bigger, man. Have you seen Izzy in camp and seen some of the pictures? Like he's looking thick.
Yeah,
like,
he's looking
real
good,
fast,
man.
too.
You got to figure though, this like, so we talk about John Jones and stuff like that, right? And John Jones always talks about not being motivated for fights. I think you could probably say the same about Izzy. Like his last couple of competitors, like don't get me wrong, Jared Cannonier, good fighter all in all, but like that's a tailor-made matchup, man. You have a power puncher versus a guy with elite technical striking. Like everybody knew he was going to piece him up all day in that fight. So it's probably hard for him to get out of bed being excited for that. For this fight, man, everybody's breathing down his throat. Everybody's been mad about his last couple performance. Like they're throwing that KO in his face. Like how many times do you think he's seen that clip in the last 3 months leading up to this fight? Like that image is burned in his head. So I feel like he's probably taking his training camp more seriously than he has. And I really feel like he may come out and just put on a show. There is one line that's on BetOnline right now that I just saw where they have the minus and plus strikes, and they have minus 5.5 strikes for Israel Adesanya at plus 125. And that's actually a line I like because I think Pereira is going to throw bombs, but I don't think he's going to land that cleanly. Like, I think everything's going to have intention to KO. And with Izzy, like, we all know, man, he point fights. Like, he'll go for the finish if it presents itself, but his main focus is for the judges to see him winning rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think going 5 rounds, I think Pereira is probably going to be chasing him around the ring or chasing him around the cage. But the reality of the fact is does he land? I don't know, man. I don't know if that's something you bet on necessarily. Next fight in the card, Carla Esparza against Zhang Weili. This is going to be a fight that we're not going to be seeing a boring fight out of Esparza. She's going to have to deal with a very aggressive Zhang Weili. Absolutely no joke. Her grappling is solid. Her wrestling is solid. Top game is really, really solid. Submission attacks are there, and her hands are there, man. There's power in them. She sets up her combinations well. So, I mean, I think that Esparza's in a whole world of trouble, and I think the line's obviously creeping pretty heavily in the challenger's favor. I mean, 22-3-0, the record against the champs, 26-0, and I mean, she won the belt in a very interesting fashion. The type of scoring you're not going to see win too much in just a wrestling game, and that solely. It's just not going to happen anymore. So I think this is definitely going to be Zhang Weilei's championship win. She's going to win the belts, and then the one line I wanted to look at when it comes out is takedowns, because I think she's just going to dominate Esparza. Everybody's expecting Esparza to have the most takedowns, and I think there's a chance she may catch her, get on, like grab her, throw her down, get on top, and just sort of finish the fight. She finishes the fight with more takedowns, and that's it. You got it, right? So I just think it's something that if the line's really wide on, I think they hammer it because it's the only line that they'll give to Esparza. So take it away, man. What do you see with this one? I just don't think the wrestling's going to be the winning formula for Esparza. I think that Zhang's going to have scrambles, be able to actually shift out and tag her up on the feet, keep it on the even keep it up on the cage, and be able to run defensive sound cage work. What's your take on this fight, Carlos Esparza, Zhang Weili?
Yeah, like I have to side with Weili Zhang on this one, man. But like the line's wide, like minus 360. She's going up against champ. Like it's kind of gotten to the point where it's not bettable. Even like the decision, no actions, minus 500. Like it's just like it's from a betting perspective. I don't really see like unless you bet Carlos Esparza decision at like plus 900 for like a sprinkle. Like I think that's probably where the play. But like other than that, like she's probably gonna get pieced up. But if Carlos Esparza can land a takedown every single round and have some sort of control time, you're going to be real sketched out going to the judges' scorecards. So that's where I'm just a little bit dicey on it. Like, I don't think Carlos really shown too much of durability issues in the past. And a lot of people are counting like Weili Zhang just to knock her out. I don't necessarily foresee that happening. And to be honest, man, I just really struggle to find a place where I'd want to put my money on this one.
Yeah, for me, I think that she's still going to dominate her, but that's why I sort of like, depending on where the line is on that takedown prop. Like I was saying, I think that's the only thing I think that they think that maybe Carla is going to dominate it in. So if there's a line there that is advantageous to a situation where Zhang does sort of finish the fight early and gets the only top positions, maybe one takedown, or you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Just something sort of sketchy like that. Otherwise, I'm with you on that. Because Esparza is such a sound wrestler. if it does go the full distance, you could be sweating it potentially. What kind of judges you have in the seats, we don't know. So New York, I don't know, man. It could be interesting. Okay, next fight on the card we have Dustin Poirier. Talk about, speaking of interesting, against Michael Chandler. Current betting line right now is -210 Dustin Poirier against the +173 Michael Chandler. And I think the line is pretty well sitting about right, maybe a little bit, maybe -190, -200 for Dustin Poirier. But Chandler's always live with the power that he has, right? And if he does decide to go to the wrestling or at least mix it up a little bit, it could get interesting. But he's really content with just standing on the feet. And I think it could get interesting. What's your take on this one? Take it away. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I slightly lean Chandler in this one, just because Dustin Poirier's been in so many wars lately. Not to say that Chandler hasn't. It's just, and I said this in Chandler's last fight, I didn't see it, but like Chandler has the ability to grapple, and I think he can make this thing close, and I think it'll probably get extended. My favorite play on this fight is the over 1.5 at -130. But yeah, like I just slightly lean Chandler, and primarily it's a value thing because Dustin Poirier is also later in his career too. He had his 2 losses for the title. Like it's hard for me to gauge where his head will be at too. If it turns into just a straight up boxing match, yeah, it's going to be Dustin Poirier all day. But I think -220 is kind of greasy for a fight that I think should be aligned a little bit more as a pick and price tag. Chandler, as I said, Chandler has the ability to mix it up. He throws bombs, and if he catches Dustin, he can shoot a good double leg, and he has the ability to win minutes. So I'll slide with Michael Chandler, but just slightly more of a value thing because I don't like the line.
Okay, well, we'll maybe keep that over 1.5 as a potential podcast play. And on top of that, we'll wait to see what the takedown line is a little bit later in the week, and that could be sort of one of those tinfoil prop plays.
Sure.
Next fight on the card, we have Frankie Edgar against Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez coming in with some solid boxing, solid leg kicks. Essentially could really run a complicated game against Frankie Edgar, but sort of have a theory on this one, man. And I think that, Frankie Edgar coming in, a vet, 23-10-1, been through a lot of wars. Chris Gutierrez, 18-3-2. Much younger fighter, 10 years younger. If we're looking at the speed, the one thing that you can see in Frankie now is the speed's not quite where it was. That was always his advantage before. His ability to switch from his boxing to his wrestling, his footwork, and being able to transition back and forth. It was so fast, you didn't know where it was coming from. It would confuse you and be all over the place, and you wouldn't really know what was coming. And before you knew it, either he's knocking you out or the decision comes up and he's beat you. He's ahead too far in the cards. Now, him being much slower, it's his retirement fight. There's so many red flags with that, right? Like I was saying in the chat, how many times is there a retirement fight where the guy that's retiring doesn't get finished? It's very rare. And Paul Daly was looking like he might be getting finished in his retirement fight. He comes back and wins in a KO. But I don't see Frankie Edgar coming in and just trying to point fight his way to an outside battle with Chris Gutierrez where he's going to get his legs chopped down and possibly outpointed on the feet at this point. So, man, I just think Frankie Edgar's going to either go guns blazing. If he's going to go guns blazing, and I hope if you could pull the lineup for me, Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez, under 2.5. If Edgar comes in guns blazing, he's either going to go broke and get caught, knocked out, or he's going to finish Gutierrez. What's the under 2.5?
The under 2.5 is sitting at +125 right now.
Yeah, so the line's still sitting there right now. I know it's a little bit of a theory, but I can't see, and I don't know if you can follow me on a little bit. I just can't see Frankie Edgar coming in and just trying to point fight his way to victory for his final fight in New York. I think the nerves are going to be there. He's going to come in. It's his final fight. Either he's going to, he's going to fuck it up or not. He's going to come in, look like a champ, go out with a KO win or something along those lines, or he's going to go out and get knocked out.
I mean, I kind of have to agree on this. Like, I really tried to find a reason to back Frankie in this spot, and like, I can't really find it. Like, with Gutierrez, man, he's got 73% takedown defense, and I really think that's Frankie's only path to victory. Those kicks, as we've seen in all of Gutierrez's fight, are really going to be the thing that's going to set them apart in this one. And I feel like after like a minute and a half in, Frankie's gonna be having trouble walking on those legs. So I like Gutierrez in the spot, man. And I said I like the under 2.5 too. I think by the second round, Frankie Edgar's gonna be hurting quite a bit. We saw what he can do in his last fight against Baccarel. And I think you and I were both, at least I was on Gutierrez in that fight too. I was surprised by the KO, but he's showing great improvements in his ability to like capitalize on situations. So I like Gutierrez in the spot, man. I like him by KO too, which is
Like,
sitting
can
at
you
plus
even see it?
250.
Like, we're sweating right now. 2 rounds are down. Gutierrez is far ahead in the cards, or at least a decent, like pretty comfortable ahead in the cards. And Frankie's not looking good. And his corner says, you got to go for broke. You got to go in there and knock his fucking head off in that first minute. And if you don't, so then boom, we have that moment off the stool. I'm still not sweating at that point because I just think under 2.5 hits. I know it's a bunch of assumption, but I mean, these things happen pretty frequently with retirement fights. So next fight in the card, we have Dan Hooker against the Prince of Peru, Claudio Puelles. So we have Dan Hooker, who's had a little bit of a rough stint in the past while, sort of displaced during the pandemic and trying to make up fights quickly on short notice and flying around and not really having a home. And so he's had some issues. Takes a fight against Makhachev, and really, can we blame him for losing that one? No, not really. That was more of a hit. Against Arnold Allen, I don't know if we really saw Allen come in to finish him, but I don't know if that's an indication of something, because Allen's not necessarily known for a guy to come in and finish guys like that, right? So we have Hooker coming in at 21-12-0 to Claudio Puelles coming in at 13-2-0. And what's the line currently sitting at right now?
Right now, you have Dan Hooker sitting at a minus 155 with so I just froze me here. With Puelles sitting at plus 132.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Dan Hooker, he throws out pretty much as he receives in a fight when he in his stand-up battles. And Puelles will take some shots in order to get in there. And it's not a mystery what he wants to do. He wants to get you down to the ground and submit you, right? I don't really have an angle on this fight otherwise to touch the submission prop. You know, I don't know what it's sitting at currently. Unless it's already juiced up, you might be able to tell me. But everybody could be on the Dan Hooker side in this, but it hasn't been good. So I just don't know how we can throw, faith in that side over and over again, potentially as a dog or whatever else. It just doesn't really play for me, man. So I'm on the side of Claudio Puelles in this. I just think that he's gonna, if he gets a hold of him, gets him down to the ground, it's a wrap. I think he's gonna be able to grab a leg or grab a neck and do what he needs to do. So give me Claudio Puelles. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna side with Dan Hooker on this one because I think he should win this fight, and I think that's why they gave him this fight. But I don't know, and it says discussed this earlier in one of my chats. Like, I don't know how anybody could put money on Dan Hooker though and feel confident in the spot. Out of 14 fights on his cards, like I would say this is the one where you should just like completely stay away from, because Dan Hooker should be able to come in here and win. He's beaten far better grapplers than Puelles. And he comes from a much better training camp, far better experience. He's fought nothing but killers. Like, everything leads to the fact that Hooker, in my opinion, should win this fight. But the fact is, like, how far overreach is he? And that just makes it, in my opinion, unbettable. Like, the only way to take Dan Hooker is if he was an actual dog in the spot. I said, I think he's going to win, but unless you're touching that plus 400 Puelles submission prop, I wouldn't touch anything else. Just take the time. Let's see if Dan Hooker's still who we think he is. And other than a small sprinkle, I said I wouldn't parlay him. The next fight, we have Brad Riddell going up against Renato Moicano. Moicano's a guy that I love to back, and this is going to be a close fight, man. This is going to be good. Like, it's either going to be the power of Riddell or it's going to be the submission grappling of Moicano. And considering his last fight, he got submitted so easily. I know Jalen Turner's a guy's going to be a complete world beater, but yeah, I think Moicano's probably going to be able to get him to the ground and be able to find a submission. And if not, at least control the fight in that direction. I don't see Brad Riddell having the striking capability to be able to keep him off him. And I think that with Brad Riddell, he's going to be cautious, and it's just going to lead to more openings from Moicano in the spot.
Yeah, it's not a good matchup for him again, and Riddell is he's pretty much at this point for me he's a stay off, because I've seen him in the cage where he seems like he just gets lost in their points, gets lost in the fight, and he's I mean, isn't he the coach? Isn't he the city kickboxing coach? For me though, man, he's even should have the better stand up than some guys, but he just gets lost in firefights. You might even see him try to go to the wrestling here. Moicano will likely be able to scramble on him whenever he needs to. They'll be able to tag him as well too. But I'm on either side of this, man. This is more of a stay off. I think we'll go with whatever pick. I'm going to be a little bit of a bitch on this one, but I just don't know. I can't. I'm likely leaning towards Moicano, just as more of a. I just don't trust Brad at this point. I can't trust him at this point. So he doesn't seem to do what he's supposed to do in there. And when you're the coach, that's and he is a city kickboxing coach. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah. He's
Man.
one of them. But yeah, right now they're giving you Moicano submission at plus 450. And I think you
like that.
Yeah, like it's just like essentially Moicano's gonna go in for it. Like he's not gonna want to have a firefight like he had with RDA. Like he's gonna want to get in there and get it done. And if I feel like if it hits the ground, the submission is gonna be wide open for him. That being said, if he comes out there and tries to box with Riddell, I'm gonna be really mad. But it is what it is.
Yeah, he's got to use his striking in a way to keep Riddell at bay at points, and then try to set up just advantageous situations on the cage and just make it a little bit dicey. I think that's the way he wins this. But make Riddell, you got to just make him question himself. I think that's a big thing, man. And if he shoots a sloppy takedown at any point because he might get tagged, there is a sub there. So definitely something to look at. Next fight on the card, we have Dominic Reyes against Ryan Spann. This one, man, I don't really see what's the line current sitting at right now. Reyes is ahead by how much?
Minus 210 to the plus 180.
Yeah, I just don't see how, man. I mean, I get that his losses are of high level. He's lost to Prochazka, he's lost to Blachowicz, he's lost to Jones, and I get that, but his frequency of fighting has been few and far between. He hasn't looked the same, not only in the cage, but then also physically. And I don't know what he's going to look like when he steps in the cage here. So I don't get the price tag when you have Spann coming off the guillotine of Kutalaba. I don't get it really. I get that he lost to Anthony Smith in fashion, but I mean, I understand the level of competition. I get that's really pretty much what we're looking at here. But I just think that this is maybe wait for the scales, but then the line might move. I don't know. It's more of a stay off for me at this point. I think that, even in the chat, I was talking myself back and forth one way or the other. And it really comes down to, I don't know if I can trust Ryan Spann enough to be able to stand with Dominic Reyes if he does show up and be the Dominic Reyes that we know. And I don't know if he's going to be slick enough to be able to get in to get, a choke or even top position a lot of the time if Reyes shows up. But if he doesn't and Spann gets top position, he's dangerous with the chokes, but he's also dangerous with just being, that heavy brawler, just throwing those strikes down. He lands pretty well accurate with his ground pound as well too. So when it comes down to it, it's a stay off for me. But man, I'll go with the dog Ryan Spann on this one. I just don't trust where the line's at. I think it's just a value play there. I just don't understand. There's no way to really look at it any other way. Like at least as far as a value play where it is right now. Doesn't necessarily mean Reyes doesn't come in and dominate it, but take it away.
I have a thing with people who just get borderline stupid tattoos, and for Ryan Spann to have a giant Superman logo, it's not even a small tattoo. I got some friends with some stupid fucking tattoos, but this guy has a giant Superman tattoo just dead center in his chest for the world to see. He's not even trying to hide it. So for that reason, okay, that's my breakdown. Don't bet Ryan Spann. But no, and I wholeheartedly agree with what you said. Dominic Reyes' last win was Chris Weidman back in 2019. So we're looking at a good 3 years ago. He had 2 real rough knockouts since then, and a fight with John Jones that he won't stop talking about, which he needs to let go, because I don't really think we've seen John Jones pretty much since then either. So yeah, I agree with you, man. I like violence in this fight. It's in a minus 300. I get it's chalky, but it's either Spann's going to take him down and just submit him, or Dominic Reyes is going to be able to show us what we all think he should be able to do and KO Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann's been knocked down in literally every single one of his fights. He cannot take a punch to save his life. So he's going to be hunting for that takedown, and he's going to be shooting for the submission, because we've also seen time and time again that whenever fights get extended, his gas tank falls off a cliff. So
yeah,
I
over
think
like 1.5, over that 7-minute mark. It's
yeah, it just disappears, man. Like I think this fight ends in the first round. So if you're looking for like a parlay piece, I don't hate the fight doesn't go. I usually don't like parlaying time props because you're bound to get screwed. But
you can look at this fight ends in the first round by itself. Don't parlay it. Just play it by itself
yeah,
solely. If
you're
you
gonna
feel
get some
that
good plus money
convinced
on
about
it.
it, that's a play, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll take a look at that. I think that's a smarter play, man. We don't need to parlay shit. Let's try to avoid it if we can. Next fight on the card. This one is definitely creeping wider, I think. I don't know if any money's coming in for Molly McCann, but you have Aaron Blanchfield coming in against Meatball Molly McCann, the Rocky, the hope of England, and she comes in with just, I mean, piss and vinegar, man. She just throws and she throws. She has bricks in her hands, so when she touches you, she's willing to get in there and bang. If she touches even the best of the best, the best of the best is no longer that anymore. It'll be definitely interesting to see if this line gets wider. If people are going to come in love for Molly McCann. What's the line currently sitting at right now?
I think just give me a sec. Aaron Blanchfield is sitting at a minus. What do we got? What do we got? Minus 425 at the return Molly on Molly McCann at plus 325.
Yeah, it's a wide line. So Aaron Blanchfield 9-1-0. Molly McCann 13-4-0. We got the big dog coming in against Aaron Blanchfield, who's just sound. What do you think? Who takes this fight, and is there any value in the dog?
Yeah, to be honest, I really don't think there is much value in Molly McCann. We talked on the starting of the show about Alex Burris getting cherry picked fights. This is the literal opposite of cherry picking a fight. I'm kind of confused as to why Molly McCann would want to take this fight because she was really well on her way to getting a title shot. She has some real impressive KOs, looking good. People were talking about her. And this is just stylistically an awful fight for her. Like Aaron Blanchfield should be able to ground her and beat her up. I want to say I don't hate violence in this fight either because the way Molly McCann was throwing punches and the fact that Aaron Blanchfield's striking is atrocious makes me think that if for some reason Molly McCann developed like this astronomical takedown defense, then she could probably get the KO in the spot. That being said, I really feel like this fight's going to hit the ground within the first like 35 seconds. And I feel like Aaron Blanchfield is just going to be able to beat the crap out of Molly and either find a submission or a TKO or enough to get the ref to jump in there at some point. She's
grounding it. Dude, she's grounding it at least 4 times in the fight, and
easily.
Usually early, she's getting in there on her. So yeah, I mean, if she can tire out Molly McCann and make her feel like a fish out of water, there will be no room for the dog. And not like I was even looking at Molly McCann as even a piece or anything. It's just, is there value there really? Like, I don't think so. I think she's probably not gonna be able to touch her up at all. But yeah, man, Blanchfield's, we know what she can do. But the reality of the fact is, Molly McCann, if she comes out and does this, I don't even know what to say anymore. Right? Like, she's landed 2 spinning back elbows. She does that. That's great. And I know the matchups aren't even close. This is a level up. But if she lands something here, I mean, it's just a fight IQ issue on Aaron Blanchfield's part. If that really happens, I would say, because she's not taking it where she is going to win. So.
Yeah, but honestly, this is, and once again, like I know a lot of people do this. I'm not trying to shit on women's MMA, but like a lot of times, man, I'm just like let's take for example, like last weekend, right? Everybody was holding Miranda Maverick ticket by TKO because Shanna Young, easy in world takedown. She spends half the fucking fight standing with her to prove literally nothing. The second she gets it on the ground, she's in positions, can go for finishes, but she's always just like a couple seconds short from getting it. And we're all sitting there like, what the hell is she doing? So I'm not saying that's what Aaron Blanchfield's going to do, but I feel like you see this kind of sometimes where somebody wants to make a point. And I find it to be a little bit more women's MMA where I'm just like, what are you doing here? Like you have a clear path to victory and you're just throwing hands.
I can see Aaron Blanchfield because she lands almost 6 strikes per minute and she's absorbing like less than half of that.
Yeah.
So if she can go out there and try to get Molly to throw big shots and gas herself out on some big shots early, take her down, confuse her a little bit, get her to gas, finish her maybe second round. We're starting to form something here. Maybe second round sub, third round sub, sprinkle. Okay, next fight on the card. We look at your boy. I'm gonna let you take this one away. This is your boy. You gotta take the lead on this one.
No.
Andre Petrosky against Wellington, the man, Turman. That's your
Can't
boy,
believe
isn't he? Didn't you guys go to school together or something?
I can't believe this is another fight card where I have to fucking talk about this guy.
Andre
It's every-
Petrosky 8-2-0 against Wellington Turman 18-5-0. Dun, dun. Yes, Wellington Turman.
See, here's the thing, like
I will say this. I look forward to your breakdown on this one, kind sir. Please take it away. And let's know the odds on it.
right now you have Andre Petrosky sitting at where the fuck? No, I'm getting ads. Sitting at a minus 200. Again, the return on Wellington tournament at a plus 170. Dude, and that's it. Like, I don't like. There's just something about this guy that just drives me insane, man. Like, I have a hit list in the UFC. Most of them are gone. The top of my hit list is Fabio Sharon, that fucking water buffalo dude. I'm
You
so
gotta be
happy.
careful, man. You gotta
So
be
happy.
careful. You're gonna run into one of these dudes one day.
None of these guys are ever going to come to Canada. I don't care. There's never
All right.
going to be. The only time Wellington Tournament's going to come to Canada is if he gets cut. Pray to God that happens after this fight. And he's on some like,
I'm pretty sure Fabio Sharon fought in Montreal, but continue.
well, maybe him and William Tournament can fight for the worst fucking fight in the world because that's essentially what you're going to get out of the two of them. That being said, I don't really know why Andre Petrosky's either a minus 200 favorite because he was like a plus 400 dog in his last fight. So I don't really understand. Like, neither one of these guys I think are very good. I like Petrosky a little bit better, but I wouldn't touch this fight with a 10-foot pole, man, because then we'll see what Turman does, which is piss me off, and it's going to be like sub Misha Serkinov. So,
I want to see what the actual line of the takedowns are. If it's a little bit tighter than it needs to, like a little bit tighter. Like Petrosky, he's going to land about 4 a fight, and Turman lands about 2 a fight. But I just want to see what they line it at. If it's a little bit tighter, I know it'll still be a little bit chalk, but I'm interested in that.
I wonder if there's a line, and we'll see if we can find it where, from an actual angle point of view, and not talking shit point of view, where this fight ends in submission, because Turman's actually relatively dangerous for being an awful fighter, and Petrosky, like he's
your boy, bro.
we're best friends, man. My favorite guy in the world. I think regardless who wins this fight, it probably ends in a submission.
Well, I mean, the one thing that's not going to be smart for Turman, and it's what he does in the past, is he sort of marches through with this sort of parry style. He's going to take 1 or 2 shots to throw a punch, and if Petrosky touches him up, it's not going to end well that way. He's going to have to scramble off his back, scramble off the ground as he gets touched, and potentially out-wrestle up against the cage and smashed. So I'm actually on the Petrosky side with this one. I'm probably not going to make it a play, but I think he actually is going to put your boy out. So I'm not off it as much of a stay off, but it's not a preferred play. Your boy. Next fight on the card, we have the steamroller, Matt Favola, against Otman Azatar. Azatar? Yeah, that's how you say it. I mean, this one, we know that what we're worried about was Favola, worried about him getting knocked out. He was only knocked out, recently against McKinney. How long ago was that fight? That's less than a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it's about a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, I mean, and McKinney, though, actually has some pretty good straight shots. I'll get into that in a second, but he gets knocked out by Sarukin as well, too. We're looking at this. Matt Favola, 9-3-1. Otman Azatar, 13-0-0. What's the line currently sitting at?
It's a pick 'em now in my book.
Yeah, I can see why. He was Favola was the dog a little while ago, and I get the fact he's been knocked out. But guys who throw straight power shots, that is not Otman Azatar. And I know that he's knocked guys out in the first round for Brave, and he's done that in the UFC as well too. But he runs looping shots, man. And I think that when Favola was a dog, it's not there anymore. There was value there because the way that Otman comes in, it's head down, and he's winging those shots out there. So there's just, if they're even looking at tape at all, and I'm sure they would be, Ray Longer will be looking at tape of there's knees up the middle, there's uppercuts, there's so many different things for this guy to get caught with. And you see him actually, Otman gets caught and sort of drops in some of his fights, has to drop to the wrestling. but the power is there. And the reality is, it's not that I'm trying to fish for Favola to be the big dog, but there was value, I think, there plus money. If it's a pick 'em now, there's no value at all because he could just get starched in the first round. Maybe violence is a spot in this. I think that's maybe the play, depending on where the line's currently sitting at right now. But we have Ottman, who obviously he lands with his line. It's a little bit inflated. It's 9 strikes per minute, absorbs under 2 because he's just steamrolling guys in the first round and meleeing them with shots. But the technique's not quite there, man. It's definitely interesting to see if someone catches him because he's wide open for multiple strikes right up the middle. So what's your take on this one? I think Favola was live, but if it's a pick 'em, I'm sort of staying off it. Ottman should knock him out early. But what's your take on this one? Ottman Azar, Matt Favola.
It's definitely a tough fight to call, right? But I think I have to side with Ottman on this one, man. Like, I know we haven't seen this guy in a while, and let's pray he comes back from the same fight we thought he was. For like most people that don't know, that he was kind of an up and coming prospect, and they had that thing at Fight Island. He claimed he threw a sack of potatoes across the other balcony. He kind of got like a weird suspension. Dana White said that he cut him, and then he kind of just floated off. And I don't know how that whole situation worked out. They just kind of didn't offer him a fight for a little while, and then here we are. But this was the fight that was originally scheduled back then. And I think if that fight happened 2 years ago, I think Ottman would absolutely destroy him. It's just a matter of if that's what we're still going to get after the 2 years. That's kind of what makes me a little bit more worried about this. Favola does shoot a fair bit of takedowns. He shoots about 3 per fight. So that is something that will definitely favor him in that. But the way I look at this fight, man, it's going to be Ottman early or for Favola late. Favola has shown to be able to go longer in fights. And if he mixes up the takedowns, he's going to drastically take away those power shots coming in this direction. But at the end of the day, I think Ottman probably finds that chin and early.
Yeah, the underplay you said was what?
The under is sitting at. You had to hold. Bear with me here for a sec. The under 2.5 is sitting at minus 171. I don't hate that at all.
I don't either. I think that might be another podcast play. Next fight on the card: Karolina Kowalkiewicz against Silvana Gomez Juarez. Kowalkiewicz coming in at 13-7-0 against Gomez Juarez 11-4-0. I've been a big Gomez Juarez fan. She comes in short notice was against Lupi Godinez, and that was the only time I sort of was against her because I'm a Lupi Godinez sucker. A simp, a little bitch. But when it comes down to Silvana Gomez Juarez, she's got the power, man. But what's the line currently sitting at right now? I want you to take this one away.
Right now it's sitting at a pick'em as well. Last time I checked. This is tough, man, because like with Karolina Kowalkiewicz, like she really hasn't been the same in quite a few years. So she's a minus 116. The return on Gomez is a 104. Minus 104. But I gotta side with Gomez in this fight, man. She's the younger, hungrier fighter.
100%.
And like with Karolina, man, it's just we haven't seen the same Karolina in so long that it's really hard to put any stock in her. Like, I'm kind of surprised that she's not a fairly sized underdog in this fight. Like, her grappling is decent, but I think Juarez's striking is so much better. And I think that she's just going to be able to control this fight. I think it's probably the last time we're going to see Karolina inside the cage.
Yeah, I mean, Karolina, she lands just a little over 5 strikes per minute, which is great. But she absorbs a little more than she lands. With Gomez Juarez, you're not going to be able to afford to do that. Not even close, not at all. She has got some power, and she places it very well. I could see her tagging her up in this fight. I think it is sort of putting her out to pass her kind of situation. Kowalkiewicz is, I think, sort of past the point at this time. You're right, definitely on that one. I'm with you. Go with Gomez Juarez on this one, and that could be a podcast play. I'm down to pick her money line on this one. I think in the stand-up battle, although she'll get tagged a little bit, I think she's going to have the bigger moments all the way through 3 rounds if it goes full. If not, she even actually tags her out late. So Gomez Juarez for me, Gomez Juarez for you. Podcast play if you're down.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah, I'm into it. Next fight on the card we have Michael Chisano against Sungwoo Choi. This one I think is pretty clean cut. We got Mike Trezano 10-3-0 against Sungwoo Choi 10-5-0. What's the line currently sitting at?
Right now it's sitting. Stupid thing. Sorry, my app keeps freezing here. Right now it's sitting at minus 162 for Sungwoo Choi, with their turn being a plus 142.
Okay. Yeah, I mean Trezano, what we're looking at here, man, is a guy who likes to get hit more than he throws, and he goes in and he's not very defensively sound at all. Been knocked out multiple times, and we have Sungwoo Choi has power in his hands. I know he's coming off some losses to Kulabao that we didn't see coming. I don't think we saw that Josh Kulabao fight coming. If anybody really would have said that, they would have thought Kulabao would have came out the way he did in that fight. We did not see that coming. Caceres, a different situation. He's sort of crafty and finds his way, but Sungwoo Choi's got 3 inches of reach. I think that he just got to land, and Trezano will likely go out at some point in this fight. I think Sungwoo Choi is a clear side in this. I think he just plays well into a guy who has heavy hands and can mix in the wrestling a little bit as well too. Yeah, man, give me Sungwoo Choi all day on this one.
Yeah, I gotta agree, man. Like, the thing with Choi is that I think they kind of tailor made this fight for him too, to be honest. Like with Trezano, man, like his striking is very good, but I feel like they just didn't want to give Choi another grappler. Like they have a lot of faith in this guy being the prospect that he is, and I think at the end of the day that he's just gonna be able to land the better shots. Trezano's a little bit more wild with his punches, kind of a slow starter. Like I think Choi's just gonna pick him apart in this one. This is a fight I'd look at the over though for sure. I think that's gonna go to decision. And I think it might be a little bit greasy if Trezano can land some good strikes and kind of pick his spots a little more. So
I am with you on that. I don't know if we want to make it a play anywhere at all. We'll just leave it where it is because it is still a little sketchy, but we could potentially make it a money line play if you like.
yeah, I don't hate it, man. It's good value too at the plus 183 or whatever it is.
Okay. Next we have Julio Arce coming in at 18-5-0 against Montel Jackson 11-2-0. What is the line currently sitting at for this one?
Right now, sitting at minus 200 for Montel Jackson, with the return being a plus 170.
Okay, so we have both guys coming in at southpaw. The big notable here is the 5-inch reach advantage that Montel Jackson does have. As well, if we're looking at, we're gonna let you take this one away. There is some advantages on both sides of this, I think, but I know that we're gonna be splitting hairs on this one. You take it away.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Because I see you and I talked about it earlier, and I went back and reviewed the tape. The thing with Arce is that like his striking and volume is going to be the difference, I think, in this fight. Now with that Montel Jackson, like as bad as it is, like Montel Jackson lands big shots, but I think he's going to try and wrestle. And I think the thing is, if he's able to get to the ground, he's going to win minutes. But I kind of think that Jackson probably needs to get a KO to win this fight. The more I watch tape and the more you look at Arce and the way he fights, and I can kind of see your angle a little bit more, especially the value that they're giving you. Like minus 200 is kind of obscene. Like Montel Jackson is going to throw the bigger shots and maybe shoot the takedowns. But if he's not able to get Arce out of there, he's going to gas. The guy throws a crazy pace. And Julio Arce, man, he's good with his kicks, knees, elbows. Like he's very collective with his striking style. So I still like the Jackson side, but I lean the fact that if there's like a decision, no bet that was nice with Julio Arce, I think that I wouldn't mind taking a shot on that either.
Yeah, no, if I got you even to think about it, then I'm happy. So, yeah, for me, I think the first thing I thought about right away was when I was so heavy on John Castaneda a couple weeks back, fading Daniel Santos a little bit because of what I saw out of him. I thought maybe he sort of faded with gas later in the fight as he was trying to apply pressure to Julio Arce, and he just sort of faded out. And it wasn't really the case. It was just a matter of the matchup. And I think Arce just really was able to just slide out, catch him on the way out, and really look good in that fight. Some great counter striking and changing the angles, getting out of trouble, getting off the cage, and just running the young buck into the ground. But yeah, so I mean, that was my sort of the angle with that. I think, it's much of a similar situation, except if Jackson does want to take it to the wrestling, we do have 94% takedown defense, but what are we looking at? Like the sample size is people that aren't really trying to take him down. We got Yadong Song, we got Santos, we got Yule, we got Dabadu. These aren't guys, Rosa, not necessarily always trying to get to the ground. Rosa wants to stand and bang, even though he has a ground game. So the 94%, I don't know how many the attempts were. I didn't get the check on that. So it's not necessarily, it could be inflated a little bit, right? So I don't know what it's going to look like. Is he going to be able to keep him off? Because I think if he does, I think you're right. I think you're going to find Montel Jackson sliding away in scorecards, and I think Arce is going to be tagging him up. But definitely an interesting one. I could see, we go back and forth and watching tape. Just Jackson, a little while ago, he was the one that everybody was fading, and now he's someone that I think everybody's backing this week. And I'll take the dog money, man. What's the dog money sitting right now? I think Arce below one plus. What is it right now? Again?
Arce is sitting at plus 170.
Yeah, so anything below 170, I'd said in the chat, I think then the value starts to go a little bit, because I don't know if Jackson could run a top heavy wrestling game for 3 rounds and win, but if he squeaked out two rounds in that with wrestling, he could be sweating it all the way through. But as far as value, plus 170, if you like Arce, if you've seen what he can do, it's a good side. But I get the Jackson side completely. Next fight on the card, we have Carlos Alberg against Nikolai Negumereanu. And I know that you have a little bit of an angle on this one. Negumereanu was someone that you had mentioned in the podcast last week. So I will let you take this one away, see if maybe you've changed your thought on it a little bit or are still hammering down on it. We got Carlos Alberg, 7-1-0. Nikolai Negumereanu coming in at 13-1-0. We'll dodge that bullet.
I like Nikolai a lot on the spot, man. Even after watching the tape, like the thing is, if he engages in a full-on kickboxing fight and loses this fight, then that's on him. But he has so many other paths to victory. He's a great wrestler, and this dude, like a lot of people I know, heard talking like that. Like he leaves his hands down, he gets hit a lot. It's like, yeah, man, the guy's got an iron chin. If anything, that just deters your fighters. Like if you look at Alberg, man, whenever he fought Kennedy, he hit Kennedy with absolutely everything, and then Kennedy KO'd him in the third, just because he wasn't able to get him out of there. So that doesn't really worry me. I think he'll probably land bigger shots, and I think that the takedowns are going to be open for him just to be able to kind of capitalize on being a full mixed martial artist. Where Alberg's a great kickboxer, but I don't necessarily rate him as a high mixed martial artist.
Yeah, I mean, the one that he's going to have to volume up his takedowns, though, Negumereanu, because, I mean, he's only landing about 1 on average per fight, and he's going to need to take more shots. Definitely is going to be, I think, the path to victory. Try to tire Alberg out early, take a little bit of, that pop off those strikes. But yeah, you're right. If he doesn't get this to the ground, or at least mix it up and up off the cage and make this a little bit dirty, he's in trouble. He's in for a long night, and you don't want to be stuck in the clinch game with Alberg as well too. You have to figure out your grappling game very carefully, chain wrestle properly up against the cage, and don't get caught in that because he'll bring your neck down and knee you right in the face. Definitely an interesting matchup for the first fight of the night. I'm actually going to go with Alberg on this side. I don't know if I saw more volume from the takedowns. I totally get what you're seeing, and there's power in Negumereanu if you were to catch him. As well too, but I need to see more takedowns in order for me to be confident in this one. I think this might play out on the feet, and then I'd be sketched out if I was holding a Negumereanu ticket in that situation. But I do get what you're saying. I could fully be eating my words. I mean, look what I did with the Water Boy, right? I'm the Water Boy this week. So I think we found some angles right here. If you look at the first 3 fights of the night, if we can find Wiley Zhang or Zhang Wiley more takedowns, and there's a advantageous line there later in the week, we'll definitely take a look. Okay, so for podcast plays, we have the first one at the top. Which one are you going to start with?
The Poirier Chandler at over 1.5 at minus 130.
I like that play. I think everybody's expecting some violence early. Not a bad shot at all. I like the value there on that one. If you look at Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez, I think that Edgar's going to come in with a all or nothing approach, and I think that's going to either have him go out in infamy in history with a great knockout or get caught either early or late as he's trying to press. And I think that we'll see an under 2.5 on that one. That is sitting currently right now at plus 125. I think Frankie Edgar goes in and either finishes early or gets finished early and retires. So 2 moneyline plays are Renato Moicano and Silvano Gomez Juarez. What's Moicano sitting at currently money line?
He's sitting right now to minus 133,
And Gomez Juarez?
minus 104.
Okay. And then actually no, that one I think was Moicano was a play for you specifically, so that we'll make that a Nick play. The podcast play was Sungwoo Choi actually. And what was his money line currently sitting at?
His money line sitting at minus 162.
Okay. Okay. And then if we look at the Julio Arce, Montel Jackson, Shuey or the Beard?
Yeah, screw it, I'll do it. Although I do kind of lean Arce the more I think about it. You know what? Fuck it. I'll stick to my guns on this one.
We're not gonna do it to do it. We'll just have you drink a Shuey just to drink a Shuey then. So we'll keep Sungwoo Choi as a money line. Maybe have Arce as a dog play then if we're both on the same side of it now at this point. I do like Favola as a potential, but I think the violence is potentially a good spot there. But I think we found some spots and we'll hammer out exactly what the plays are specifically, but I think we found most of them there.
For sure.
All right, brother. For Nick, Eagle Eye, I'm Callum McGregor. We like to break down fights. We'll try to line our pockets while lining yours. And if you don't like it, what we got here is
Failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework, you know what I mean?
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
He did not tap.
Let's go! Let's go!